Defo on 5, Jeff DeForest, and a very happy Mike Lubie Lubitz. And it's interesting because it's possible now for the second time in two consecutive series, where we were here to write the epitaph for the Miami Heat. We figured they'd be down 2-0 coming back to Miami. The routine split of the two games here against a better team, and then go back to Denver to get crushed in Game 5. And all of our predictions would have been right on the money, huh? Denver Nuggets in 5 games. Heat, valiant effort, really came together. Good sign, nice springboard for next season. Maybe you add in a player here or there. Maybe you don't even make a move. You just play a better regular season all the way, and people have more confidence in your ability to contend for the championship. And then, lo and behold, last night happened, Lubie, as the Heat, who appeared to be buried, down 8 points going into the fourth quarter. Do you know what Denver's record was? I think they posted it somewhere during the broadcast. Do you know what Denver's record was when leading by any number of points, whether it was 1 or 15, going into the fourth quarter? Do you know what their record was on the season? The Denver Nuggets this year.
Something
leading going to the fourth quarter.
I know they were undefeated. I didn't see I don't remember the actual number. I was sort of euphoric last night.
Well, they weren't undefeated. It was 32-1.
Oh, sorry.
They had lost one game when leading going into the fourth quarter. I don't know how large or minuscule that lead was going into the fourth quarter, how significant it was. But out of nowhere, my friend, out of nowhere, Duncan Robinson comes flying off the bench there, knocks down a bunch of threes, and ends up with 10 points in the fourth quarter, all 10 of his points at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And the rest of the Heat supporting cast sustained that. Brilliant shooting. And they end up winning the fourth quarter 36-25. An 11-point margin for the Miami Heat. Good enough for a 3-point victory, a 1-1 tie in the series, and resurrecting hopes that South Florida will be indeed title town. Lubie, what did you think? I don't even want to get into this thing about the officials blowing 5 points worth of Heat points in their favor, where Jimmy Butler was out of bounds when he tossed the ball to Gabe Vincent for a key 3.
That's true, yeah.
And then you also had Bam Adebayo with a
clear goaltend.
Clear goaltend. I mean, he may as well have just caught the ball as it was on its way down, and they robbed the Nuggets of a couple of points there. There were a couple of questionable out-of-bounds plays that weren't challenged by Mike Malone, who you only get the one challenge, and if you lose that, you're sending a guy to the free throw line, right? Anyway, the Heat even up the series. Phenomenal shooting all the way around. Everything that they did wrong in Game 1, they kind of corrected in Game 2. They still had to hang on to win by 3 points. A potential game-tying shot at the buzzer by Jamal Murray. Didn't miss by much, but very questionable that Mike Malone didn't call the timeout there and set up a play for a 3-point shot, because it's one thing, you're down 2, and you're scrambling up the court, and all you have to do is maybe drive it to the basket. You have a zillion options. When you need a 3, you might want to set up a play so that in this case, obviously you want either Murray, more likely Murray than Jokic to shoot the 3, but you still would have had those two guys as an option, and maybe, I don't know, Michael Porter Jr. hasn't been all that hot on 3-point shooting during the series. He only had 6 points, was a relative non-factor last night. But, a very questionable decision there not to call the timeout when you needed 3 points. But the Heat win it, and Heat Nation should be euphoric, and that sets it up for a possibility of taking a 2-1 lead over the Denver Nuggets when they play Game 3 on Wednesday night.
It was 100% a goaltend, and Butler was out of bounds, and I don't feel bad. I don't give a shit how and by the way, the Heat weren't that much more aggressive last night, and they went to the free throw line like 10 times as much. Like, I'm sorry. The Heat shot the same shots both games. Like they did. Butler's, and when Butler got fouls, it was still on the pull-up mid-range jumper. So why magically did he get it in Game 2 and not Game 1? If Nugget fans want to bitch, all I say is 20-2. You could shoot threes an entire game, never shoot a 2, and you should have 4 free throws. Like, I've never seen, and I love the Heat not complaining about the refs at all, not blaming the refs at all, because they shouldn't have. The refs are going to do what the refs are going to do. They overreacted last night. There was a Heat lean, I guess. Jokic still airballed a 3 with perfect defense by Bam. Was no contact at all. And the refs
that's true.
gave him 3 free throws. Jokic, I've never seen, even back in the day when you were allowed to be aggressive on offense, I've never seen a guy get away. He literally not only does the hook,
he does sling some elbows. He really does, yeah.
He uses his elbow and sticks it in the chest of grown men.
The Rock didn't throw as many elbows when he was wrestling.
Entire offensive possession every time. And it's like, okay, if he's allowed to do that, then I don't feel bad if he get a
Yeah,
goaltend.
we shouldn't be on the refs anyway. I mean, you know what? When you really get down to it, the bottom line was the Heat just. It comes back to our theory. I think we nailed this. I don't know that you need any analysts. You certainly don't need Stephen A. Smith and Greenberg and that crew. I mean, that's horrendous what they're doing by comparison. It's awful to be compared to a crew that everybody loves, but with Shaq and Kenny Smith, Kenny the Jet, and Barkley, of course, and Ernie Johnson. But wow, what a mess they make of it. With the analysis that they have. But the truth is, he who makes shot win game. It's the old Asian proverb: he who makes shots win game. And the Heat made their shots. They were phenomenal shooting the ball from 3-point range and everywhere else on the floor. Had a lot of different contributors. I mean, when you look at it, you had not even playoff Jimmy so much. He ends up with 21 points. Bam had 21. He was great. Struess was hot early in the game. Got the Heat off to a terrific start. You had even Kyle Lowry, who a lot of people want to dismiss. He's been razor sharp in critical spots with 3-point shots. Really, really been good. He hasn't done that much, but when he's been in there, he's been enormously effective and making shots. And then, of course, Gabe Vincent was a high scorer in the ball game for the Miami Heat, and he couldn't miss. You even had. Contributions coming from virtually everybody. Kevin Love even made a contribution in the game, although people were crediting Spoelstra with making a genius move by putting Kevin Love in the starting lineup. Caleb Martin was sick, and he wasn't even necessarily going to play in the game. He didn't play that much, wasn't a huge factor, but the move to put Kevin Love in the starting lineup, I don't think was a stroke of genius as much it was desperation is the mother of invention. But if you want to credit Spo, you have to give him credit for this. Somehow he has his team competitive with what appears to be, for the first time in the postseason, a much better team in terms of overall team play. And, getting contributions from everybody last night, it was phenomenal. So the Heat now very much alive in the series. It's looking more like Denver in 7 than it is Denver in 5, although you wouldn't discount the Heat from winning this thing. And maybe we need to amend our opinion all the way around, Lou, because I was thinking Stanley Cup, yes, Larry O'Brien, no. Now you're, at least curious to see, is it possible? Can the Heat actually win another championship? This would be obviously the most impossible one to have conceived of when they were just about eliminated. And the Panther game against the Las Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday night looked good for a while. They were doing their usual thing until they ran out of gas in the third period. And Las Vegas did dominate that third period, ended up winning the game 5-2. Game 2 tonight. Looking very much forward to that. Well, what did you see there, Mike Lubie Lubitz?
It was just annoying. It felt like every time the Panthers made any kind of headway, then it was almost like what the Panthers have done these playoffs, where they didn't look. Every game's been a close game for the most part for the Panthers, but they always found a way. It felt like that's what the Knights did. Like every time the Panthers did anything, they're down 2-1. They actually were getting outplayed in that second period, but they got a goal with like 10 seconds left.
Yes, off a faceoff.
And that ties it up. It's like, okay, that's the kind of kismet stuff that they've been doing. Cool. Now they're even. Now they'll go do work in the third period. No, look, it was even in the third period for most of it. The Knights scored, go out up 3-2, but it stayed 3-2 until about 8 minutes left. So they were in it, but they were always a step slower than the Knights. It felt like I was uneasy. Instead of feeling confident, I was uneasy the whole time. It just felt like the Knights were going to make that one more play, and they did, and then they did it twice. They got up 4-2, and then that was the end of that.
Very similar teams, in the way they perform. It looked like the Panthers were going to work their magic once again. At some point, when you're winning games like that, you think, well, geez, it's going to eventually balance itself out. And it kind of did in that game, as you said, Lubie, where Las Vegas had coughed up a 2-1 lead. In probable fashion off a face-off with 10 seconds to go. Less than that, I think it was like 5 seconds to go in the second period. Now it's 2-2, and you're looking at the history so far, the story of the playoffs, and the Panthers have emerged with victories in virtually all of those situations. But for the most part, so have the Golden Knights.
Yep.
They've won a lot of games in very similar fashion to the way the Panthers have been competing in the postseason. They've beaten some really good teams. Edmonton was no slouch that they knocked off in the second round. I don't know that they weren't, destined to beat Dallas, because Dallas was life and death to get out of a second round series against the Seattle Kraken in 7 games and barely managed to do that. So and Vegas was very convincing in their final game against the Dallas Stars. But and at home, what an atmosphere, huh? That was unbelievable. What was going on in Las Vegas? You would imagine that it's going to be more of the same in Game 2 tonight. But hockey, much more of an abstract game to try to figure out, who really had the edge. You thought maybe Bobrovsky was not quite as sensational as he had been. I mean, the goals that he gave up the last couple weren't the kind of stellar stuff that we were seeing from Bobrovsky throughout the playoffs, where he was just absolutely magical. Went back. I don't know that he reverted back to being the Bobrovsky that we despised, but what wasn't the kind of effort that we've seen from him that had propelled the Panthers to this
All right, well,
position. So
he was good. He wasn't great. Like
yeah,
that was look. He wasn't the guy that sucked. He made some really big saves. He kept them in the game,
yes,
but he wasn't going to win the game for him. Like he wasn't. Like the
no,
goals he gave up were goals he stopped. He stopped those goals in that last series. Look, he played like he played versus the Maple Leafs and at the end of the Bruins, where he was really good,
yeah.
but he needed the other guys to win. The last series he played out, he stood proverbially on his head. The last series, he was a freaking monster. And even when they slacked off, he covered their ass. That wasn't that game. Like, he was good, but he needed his team to help him out, and they just didn't have enough in the end.
All right, well, it all hangs in a balance, and we're very much alive. I mean, certainly the Heat win was invigorating for the South Florida fan base, because I fully expected, before the game even started, and then when the Nuggets ran away and were up 15 after
15,
trailing by 11 early in the ball game, and then leading by 8. I mean, they opened things up. That third quarter, it's going to be crucial. And the Miami Heat were in it, and they'd cut the lead. They had taken the lead, and then all of a sudden, Denver's up 8 going in the fourth quarter with a 32-1 slate in situations that involve those circumstances. And you're thinking, there's no way that this is going to turn around. And Duncan Robinson comes in, lights it up, and so instead of talking about the complete burial of our South Florida franchises here today, we are just rejuvenated with a new kind of hope. A couple of other things happened. The Marlins, surprisingly, have swept their way. Well, now beating the A's is no distinction. I'm not even sure that the A's would win the Little League World Series if they were in Williamsport. Would they? I mean, the A's are horrible this year. They're going to threaten. I always thought this. It's not true, but I thought that the New York Mets, my 62 Mets, were the worst team in baseball history. They were not. There were teams before that. I mean, it's like in prehistoric times, but teams that had lower winning percentages than the New York Mets, who went 40-120 in their inaugural season. And we've often referenced the fact that they didn't even make them play the other two games because they were so bad. But the A's are threatening that mark. I mean, they're going to end up being the worst team in Major League Baseball history. Still, that being said, the Marlins had to rally from the grave. As Sandy Alcantara, wow, what is wrong with this guy this year? How do you win the Cy Young Cy Young Award 1 year, and then come back the next year and look like, I don't know, does he look like garbage this year?
Yeah, he sucks.
Wow.
I mean, he does. He's the worst pick right now. It's weird to say because
Their most liable start, I mean, is Alcantara. Used to count on that guy for a win, right?
automatic. Oh no, he's the only one. Like no matter what they did, he was going to get a win, or at least when he left, they'd be up and then be on the bullpen to keep the game. Yeah, I mean, they won yesterday, but I don't know what the hell's going on with him. Like I have no idea, and he's not hurt. There's no talk of hurt or injuries. He's getting run support in a way he never got. He's getting 3 to 5 runs. It seems like every time he goes out there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on with him. Like it sort of sucks because the rest of the rotation is pitching really well. The bullpen's better. They're getting a little bit more runs, and now he's this. It's like, dude.
Amazing that they can have a 32-28 record, only 3.5 back of the Braves, who have been playing great baseball all season long. Last year, the Braves were lousy through about the midway point of the season, and then really rallied and showed that they were the superior team in the National League East. But this year, the Braves still playing good baseball, and here are the Marlins at 32-28, with the Kansas City Royals coming to town and a chance to maybe even expand on that. So very improbable. All that being said, I don't know how this works, and I'm not sure what they base it on. I guess it's schedule. But, they have on CBS Sportsline, and I guess you would find this on other sources, the projected number of wins for the season. And they're still only projecting the Marlins to win 76 and a hook. That's the number that they have for a probable number of wins at the end of the season. This isn't speculation on betting. This is what they project them to win based on what they're doing right now. So, are we really looking at that horrendous of a second half of the year with a team gathering momentum like this and a guy here nearly hitting 400? Louis Arise. Wow. Talk about we often point a finger at Kim Eng and say, what the hell was she doing? She certainly had a pretty good idea what she was doing with this one. Trading Pablo Lopez, a very popular pitcher and the number 2 guy in the rotation, would have been the number 1 guy this year the way Alcantara's going. At least the most reliable of starters in the Marlins rotation. And they instead get a guy that hits for average, not a lot of power. And you thought, well, is this really going to help? I keep going back to that word cosmetic with Dave Hyde when he was on the show with us, the Defo show, and he said he thought these moves, I asked him, are these moves largely cosmetic that were made in the offseason? He said, yes. But it does seem, it does appear, it does seem like that they're, destined to maybe have some impact beyond. Why would the expectation be so low in terms of those projections, Lubie? I don't know what the sources are. Do they have some killer schedule or something the rest of the way? I mean, it seems like they play everybody, certainly in their own division an equal number of times, and they end up playing everybody in the league, and both leagues. Seems a little bit lame, doesn't it? That you could see a team with 32 wins out of their first 60 games and do the extrapolation and only have them winning 76 or 77 games all year long. Kind of weird. By the way, that over-under was a killer for people yesterday in the Heat game. Heat Denver, the over-under was 216 and a hook when it went off.
Jesus.
Ends up on 219. The odds makers once again right on it. Jokic with 41 points, but and that was another theory that was out there. Do you just let Jokic get his points and keep him from distributing the basketball? Yeah.
You said, well, Jokic showed at the end. He can. Go score. Like, he was jacking up stupid threes. I fell in love with the three at some point. Go shoot threes. That's fine with me. I mean, the dude's good. Like, when I was saying they kept him in check, my friends were laughing. They're like, the dude at 27, 14, and 10. I'm like, yeah, that's keeping him in check. I'm like, that's how good he is. People he's in that Jordan, LeBron. Like, he's going to get stats. Like, Giannis. Like, Giannis will have a bad game and have 30, 15, and 10. Like, some guys are just that good where they're going to get their numbers. Like, Jokic is that. He is the best player in the NBA right now. He's going to get numbers. It's how, what. Until the end of the game, he eventually got 11 rebounds because the rebounding the last 4 minutes was a fucking abomination. But until that point, Jokic had like 5 rebounds. You're telling me Jokic is going to have, I don't care what the points are, he's going to score 25 up. 4 rebounds and 3 assists with 6 minutes left in the game? If you're telling me that, I'm going to go do a fucking jig. Like, that's what it was. Yeah, the guy scored 40 because he's the weirdest. Watching him play is because he's a fucking clod. Like, he's not even a clod for a guy that's good. He's a clod. Like, I think Zeller may be more graceful than fucking like Jokic is a clod. Like, he can't.
Zeller looks like Olajuwon compared to
Zeller
Jokic.
sucks, but I'm just saying, like,
as soon as Jokic sees Zeller, he it's kind of like when you get the fat kid guarding you in a switch, and you're thinking, I could do anything here. What do I want to do? Do I want to shoot a jumper? Do I want to go to the basket? I mean, he gets a green light, and you could see he starts seeing dollar signs. As soon as Zeller's in the game. Anyway, good stuff all the way around. Great weekend. A lot of other things going on. There was this young girl, Rose Zhang. Have you heard about this story, Lubie? First pro tournament. First one ever to do this. Since 1951. It's the last time. 72 years ago was the last time it happened. A woman named Beverly Hansen was the last to win the college NCAA individual championship in golf and then go out and win her first pro event.
Oh, wow.
And she did that. This was a girl from Stanford. Some Tiger Woods comparisons already being made. And then Victor Hovland won in a playoff at the Memorial, always a considerable tournament because of Big Jack's presence there. And just a wild weekend all the way around. The French Open's been producing phenomenal stuff already underway here this morning at 6 a.m., which it's noon over in Gay Paris. I don't know. Can we say Gay Paris in Florida and not get shut down? Sorry, Ron. On that note, we'll ask you to please tune to the Defo Show, 7 o'clock, South Florida Live. Subscribe to our channel, and you'll enjoy that. You also get Mike Mayo's Lunchbox on there. And who knows what level of expansion that may incur during the course of the season. But we're alive, Louie. We're alive. Miami Heat over the Denver Nuggets last night, 111 to 108. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow with the next edition here on Five Reasons Sports Network, which will be absolutely, ablaze with
Oh, they got to be having a blast.
heat steam today. Scoop Skolnick out there in Denver covering the finals and a bunch of other guys on there. So check that out. Coverage all day long on Five Reasons and also South Florida Live. And we'll see you tomorrow, the next edition of Defo on 5.